Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome back. This is the Mic Drop Show. This is where every Wednesday morning at 7:30 Pacific time, yes, Pacific time, we go live and we talk about some uncensored real estate, some topics, some ideas. Last week, I had a great guest on, Jason Safford. We talked about his book. This week, just me again. And you know what? I wanted to go on myself this morning live and talk about a couple of things around real estate. So if you're on YouTube, welcome. If you're on Facebook, welcome. Any other platform, LinkedIn, that you're listening in on this morning, I'm glad that you're here. I would ask that you continue to follow us, subscribe, like us, love us, comment. Your comments are important. Your comments are where ideas, topics, and questions come from for us to talk about on Wednesday mornings. But, if you are new and somebody told you about this show, I'm glad that you're here this morning. So I have one question for you this morning. What if I told you that the biggest lie in real estate is that you need money to buy real estate? I had a conversation with someone about a week or so ago about investing in one of our multifamily deals. And he said, "Man, I've always thought I needed hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy real estate." And it's interesting, people's perspective, right? They think something, but they don't have all the information. So I want to tell you this morning, you don't need money. You need value. What value can you create? How about structure? What structure can you create in that real estate transaction? The main purpose of real estate is control. It's not ownership, it's control. So the last thing that's really important is terms. What kind of terms can you structure? And I always talk about that we have win-win terms. So the buyer and the seller both are in a great situation and feel like they won on both sides of the aisle. Most people are stuck because they think I need 20% down. I need perfect credit. I need to know what to do. I need investors before I start. Here's some real truth, though. Deals are created. A lot of times we've created deals out of thin air. We bought a 450 unit apartment complex with no money down. Can you even imagine that? And it cash flowed incredibly from day one. But because of the seller's situation and needing to get out, we were able to create terms for a deal and create a structure in that real estate transaction that was a win-win for both sides. Terms are all negotiated. Money follows confidence and clarity. Let's break down 6 ways this morning to buy property with little or no money down. The first one, and we may have all heard this is a very old system. It's been taught by Robert Allen and Carlton Sheets and Dave Delgado. If you've listened to any of those people, over the years, they've been the greatest teachers of real estate. Matter of fact, the first event I ever went to was a Robert Allen event, and he taught no money down. I went to a 2-day event, paid $2,500 for that event. I was like, had to scrape the money together at that point. But that event was over on a Sunday. On Monday morning, I went and bought my first piece of real estate, a 4-flat, $1,000 down out of my pocket, and it cash flowed $450 a month for the next 5 years. And it increased. But, there's possibilities in everything that we do. The first way, though, is seller financing, owner carryback, right? Where that seller becomes the bank. You negotiate price, you negotiate rate, you negotiate down payment, length of terms, right? The longer that you can negotiate terms, the more years you can put in that piece of real estate ownership or control, where the seller acts as the bank, the better opportunity you have to grow that. Works best. Some of the areas that this works best is that the seller owns the property free and clear. The property may have been sitting for a while. The seller wants income instead of a lump sum. A lot of times sellers have tax consequences, and the tax consequences could take a good chunk of their profit. And if you can help them uh, keep more of their money, the and make the tax consequences go away, that seller is really going to enjoy that transaction you put together. Why sellers would want to do this? They get monthly income, the tax advantages, and it's an easier sale. Maybe they get more for the property too. If the seller doesn't need to sell or doesn't need to get all the cash today, you don't need to bring cash to the deal. Another way, and a very popular way today, right, is subject to financing. You buy the property subject to the existing mortgage. Loans stay in the seller's name. You take over payments. It works when you have low interest rates. The seller's in distress or relocating. There's no other loan qualification required. And you get in a high rate environment. They're great high rate environment deals. So we're in a market cycle right now where this system works really well. I bought a property one time from a seller, and this was a woman, single mom. She wanted to move to Arizona. This was a suburb of Chicago, and we went in and we paid the seller money to have gas in her car to drive her and her daughter to Arizona. And that was our down payment. I think at the time it was about $500 or $800. And we took over the mortgage, and that property cash flowed about $225 a month. You're not qualifying for a loan here doing this. You're solving a seller's problem. That seller's problem was she wanted to get to Arizona and wanted to get there now and wanted to just give somebody the keys, and we solved that problem. Lease option is another way. It's a very popular way of doing creative financing. No money down, little or no money down structures. You lease the property and control it through leasing it. You have the option to buy later. This gives you an option. So you have minimal upfront capital. Most of the time, it's just a security deposit in that first month's rent. You can sublease if structured right. Now, I teach one system that we're going to incorporate all of these systems into this one system I teach. And in the structure, it gives you an option or it gives you a purchase agreement. And you're structuring that lease option properly. It's great for appreciation. It's great for buyers who need more time. So again, this is about control, and control creates income. Ownership creates wealth. You don't always need both on day one. Now, the next topic is private money and equity partnerships. Now, I do this every day, right? We buy large real properties. We buy large apartment complexes. We buy self-storage facilities, senior housing facilities, and we raise private capital. Our investors come in, they're partners in those deals, and they share in the profits. But this is the greatest way to buy real estate, is using private money. You use other people's capital. I remember when I went to that Robert Allen seminar, he taught OPM, other people's money, no matter if it was a partner to help finance the property or a tenant that was paying off your mortgage and buying it down. But you give these preferred money partners preferred returns, so they get a good chunk of the upside. You give them an equity split. You give them a secured note against the property. So you're providing preservation of capital, cash flow, long-term wealth, and then, of course, some great tax benefits for them to help offset their passive and active income. So there's a lot of safety in this type of a process, especially in today's environment. We've been in, real estate markets are cyclical. There's no geniuses in the real estate business. There's market cycles. And we have been on the downside of this cycle for about the last 4 years. And we're at the bottom, skimming across the bottom. I picture this in your mind as a stingray sliding across the bottom of the sand at the bottom of the ocean. That's where we're at. We're just waiting to shoot up and come out of the water again, right? Well, that's exactly where we're at in this market cycle. And people that get involved today, whether it's private money that's investing in multifamily properties or other asset classes, or whether it's you as an active investor that's getting involved, you know what? We are right at the beginning. And for the next several months, you're going to have the wind at your back. And I believe that, deals are getting better. They're easier to underwrite. They're looking more opportunistic. And as interest rates continue to come down, rents increase, as concessions go away, this is the time you're going to have the wind at your back. You know what? Money is not scarce. Good operators are. So make sure that you source those good operators. And we walk through this a lot in our coaching programs with our coaching clients. We teach people how to do this. Now, here's another system. It's called a wrap mortgage strategy, right? This is kind of a master lease. That's the system that I teach. I teach a master lease. It's controlling large assets with small deposits, creates spreads between the original debt and the seller. And I teach you how to do this. This is used in multifamily. It's used in commercial real estate. It's used in single family. I have bought hundreds of properties over the years, everything from single family to 4-unit to 50-unit to 400-unit apartment complexes using this system. And it requires a little bit of negotiation skills. It requires a little bit of knowledge. It requires a little bit of getting out of your box, understanding techniques and systems, understanding strategy. Who remembers that old Taco Bell commercial, right? Get out of your box. Well, that's the same strategy behind this. You've got to get out of your box. Massive leverage is created through a master lease process. And I want to teach you how to do that. So this all maybe comes down to a mind shift for you, right? Maybe you're thinking traditionally, and I need 20% down, or I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in real estate, or this system doesn't work for me. Well, it does work for you, but do you do the work to make the system work for you? That's the question I would ask. This is where you win, right? As a real estate investor, if you don't have credit, if you don't have money, if you don't have the ability to finance this, or even knowledge, creative financing is a strategy that will work for you and help you get in the real estate game and scale your portfolio. 2026 is going to be a big year. So the deal matters, the certainty matters, your mindset matters, and the simplicity around this matters. I love the slogan KISS, right? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And that's what I do. I break that down and I keep it very simple for you. I have a master class that I'm going to be teaching on March 18th. And in this master class, I'm going to be teaching you where to find these deals, on market, off market deals that work for you. Where to build the strategic alliances and relationships that will help you find the deals, how to talk to sellers, what scripts and dialogues to use. I'm going to, ultimately you could get 100-page workbook that has all of this laid out for you in it. I also teach you the system behind the master lease and give you that master lease. And I give that to you and teach you how to use it. And then we spend some time talking about creative strategies, going through some stories and some scenarios, and on a 2-hour breakdown of simplicity on how to make this system work. So if you are somebody who's looking to get into real estate, if you're somebody who's in real estate wondering how to get to the next level, this is just a tool to put into your toolbox. This is a tool that will help you grow your real estate business in 2026 and beyond. I started using these systems back in the 80s, the late 80s. And we have bought hundreds of units over the years. I've coached hundreds of individuals on how to use these systems and techniques, how to build their business. And people are out there using these strategies every day. So if you're somebody who says, hey, real estate is the game I'm going to play in 2026, then you need to register for the masterclass. It's March 18th. It'll be a 2-hour free masterclass. I'm going to go through a broad overstroke of everything that we talked about this morning. I'm going to break it down for you in the simplest terms so you can understand it, digest it, and go take action. That's exactly what I did when I went to that Robert Allen seminar. Went to that Robert Allen seminar, half-day event. He broke it down, very simplistic, gave me some information, and then he said, hey, if you want more, and I wanted more, come to my 2-day event. I went to his 2-day event, learned what I needed to learn, and within 24 hours of leaving that event, I went and bought my first real estate deal. Now, if you're somebody who says, boy, I can do that, or I want to do that, then you need to be at the masterclass. If you want to register for the masterclass, I'm going to have you send me an email personally at mike@mikemorawski.com, or DM me on one of the social media platforms that you're listening in on this morning. We're going to get you the registration link for that free masterclass on March 18th, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. So if you want a checklist on how to structure creative deals, comment creative below, and I'll send that to you. That's another option for you. So if you're serious about learning how to structure deals like this, then let's talk about scale and how we're going to scale this for you. Again, creative financing, is it risky? No, it's not risky. Can you make bad decisions? Yeah, you could make bad decisions, but I teach you how to avoid those bad decisions. I teach you how to talk to sellers and what the sellers, how to give to the seller what they need and how to benefit you. So look, I will look forward to seeing you at the masterclass on March 18th. Remember, we're here every Wednesday morning at 7:30 Pacific, 9:30 Central, where we bring to you the greatest techniques in how to buy real estate creatively and how to invest in larger commercial real estate deals. So continue to show up, continue to share this episode with others, continue to share Wednesday mornings with others. Grab your coffee, join me for 20 minutes of great live, uninterrupted, uncensored real estate talk. Hey, everybody, I wish you a great day, a great rest of the week. Good luck in whatever you do, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.